Super. Oh, it is such a pleasure to be back with everyone who is joining us today. And I get the honor and good fortune of getting to know Jim McAllister, who is our Rainbow Inspirations guest for November. Happy November, everyone. We still had a few gremlins in our computers this morning left over from Halloween, and we had some funny stuff, funny business, but it seems to have settled out now. And Jim, Jim, tell us what you do.
Well, first of all, since it's inspirations in rainbow, you got a lot of color here. A painting, I decided to wear something colorful. I didn't want to be dull. I'm Jim McAllister. I live in Woodfin, which most people have never heard of. We're actually the little town between North Asheville and Weaverville that when you drive on the interstate or on Highway 25, we're a little town of about 8,000 people on both sides of the French Broad River. I retired here 6 years ago, built my dream home, and I like to say I'm the luckiest person you know. Life is good. The best part is being retired, though. I don't miss the corporate world, and if I had to do my old job in the middle of all this craziness, I don't think I would survive it.
Well, so tell us a little. You're not really retired, Jim. You are a public servant. You serve Woodfin in a big way. So tell us about your role in public service there and what guided you to make a decision to dedicate your time and energy to your community in this way.
When I did retire in 2016, I wanted to get out of the heat. I had lived in Texas for 17
Mm.
years, grew up in Alabama. I was tired of the heat, and I had been to Asheville a number of times and decided to live here where it's cool. When I retired, I wanted to do three things. I wanted to build a house with a view. I'm on the board of a foundation, Sebastian Strong. We raise money for early stage pediatric cancer research, and having had cancer, that interested me. But when I moved here, I was very frustrated because I kept, like a lot of other Americans, wondering, what are they doing with my tax dollars? Why is there always a pothole at the bottom of my street? And got involved with my neighbors in a little project helping the local elementary school. And when the town government wouldn't cooperate with us, I got a little upset. Met with the mayor, started going to some meetings, agreed to be on the board of adjustments because I wanted to see how a small town worked. I had never been involved in politics except working in campaigns. I'd gone door to door for people. But I was so unhappy with the answers I got that I decided to run for office. Plus, we had a big controversial housing development on the drawing boards here that people were really up in arms about. So it was called the Bluffs, very controversial still to this day. But I think I rode the anger of the citizenry regarding the Bluffs. But they swept literally 5 out of 6 of us new into office, and we've really been modernizing and changing things. It's been terribly frustrating because in the government world, unlike the corporate world, we got a problem or an issue. In the corporate world, you get everybody together, you go in a conference room, you shut the door, you argue, you do your flip charts and Excel spreadsheets, but you leave the room with a solution. In the government world, it's very different. You have to do everything in front of people. You can't have a meeting. No more than 3 of us can even talk on the phone together without telling the public we're going to talk and then inviting them to join in. So everything I write, everything I say is a matter of public record. So I have just had whiplash from all of this. It's very, very different. And I don't think people understand how government works. I'm learning. Some of it is exciting. Some of it is horrifying, like the doing everything in public part. It's very difficult to conduct business that way unless you lean into it, which I've learned to do. So it's been a fun experience. We've made some very good things happen here, and when I say that, Woodfin is the last open green space anywhere around Asheville without going 20 miles away, like out to Fairview. So we have joined Asheville on the north side, and we have thousands of acres of undeveloped, beautiful green land on hillsides, and we're going to protect it. And about the time the new 5 of us new council people showed up, there were all kind of developers hovering and blueprints going crazy. Well, we stopped all of that, and now we're making them go through some very rigorous processes to protect the hillsides, protect the river. And that's been a very popular path, but it was the path I campaigned and was elected on. And occasionally I get complaints, but more than that, I've never been stopped in the supermarket and people say, "Hey, aren't you Commissioner Jim? Wow, thank you for what you're doing. Don't let the bastards get you down."
You've
So it's
never
been,
had anyone say that, or you have had people
oh, I
say
have
that?
had,
Yeah.
it's remarkable. The first few times it
Oh.
happened, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to have to start shaving every day and putting on a clean shirt.
Oh,
I'm
wow,
used to
that's
working in the yard
heartwarming.
and going to Ace Hardware. Have to be careful doing that now.
So you're not retired. You've dedicated your work and your energy and effort to in service of our community, and I don't take that lightly. Public service is a big deal, and so thank you for all that you do, Jim.
People say when you slow down, if you stop, you die. So I'm
Mm.
not ready to die. So I want to stay active and busy. And, I was never a golfer. So, what's a guy to do?
I see some are already taking advantage of our comment section, and we'll share your comments. So do that if you have other questions. We will. We had a question, a more politics related question about Woodfin. So I'm going to hold that one for a minute and talk more about Jim, because this
Uh-oh.
is really about you. Oh, it's a good one. It's just it's just a question that could take us down a rabbit hole. So
Okay.
Mandolin, I'll tell you, we'll get back to that question, and but please do keep those comments and questions coming. Now, I'm curious, as a gay man running for office in Woodfin, like, was has that come up for you in positive or negative way? Like, what is that experience like?
It has come up. Most interesting, Asheville is a lot like Austin, Texas, where I moved from. Governor Perry said that Austin, Texas was the blueberry in the middle of his tomato soup.
Hmm.
Asheville is a little bit like that in North Carolina. Asheville, the city of and the county of Buncombe are very liberal. I thought Woodfin would be a very red little town. It's quite the opposite. And I have encountered it. There are some people, mostly because of their religion, that believe I have no business not only being in office, but even existing as a human being for being openly gay, which I'm not apologetic for. I will say this, though, I'm very proud of the mayor of Woodfin, Jerry Vihan. One of the first conversations I had with him, if I was going to get involved, I said, "Is this going to be an issue?" And he pointed his finger at me and said, "Absolutely not. And if you have any, basically let me know if you run into any problems, you come to me."
Wow.
And he's a Republican and a religious guy. So that was a wonderful surprise. And we don't take any prisoners when it comes to any kind of discrimination in the town of Woodfin, period. So it has come up, some very distant, I'm distanced from a lot of my family. It's over religion and it's over my sexuality, my reality. Uh, Very sad, but it's always been an issue. Once I realized I was gay, I decided to come out. Uh, Somebody's got to set an example for the kids. I didn't have any when I was a kid. So I at least want little boys to know that, if you think you might be gay, doesn't mean you have to wear a dress. Gay comes in all forms and fashions, and I happen to be a form and a fashion. Not a fashion statement, but a fashion.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Does that
So,
answer the question?
yeah, no, it's really great. And I think one of the things that you speak to is that judgment isn't about party lines. It's about, it comes from a different place within people for whatever reason in their experience. And, I really like do feel inspired. I hope that people with us feel inspired too by this. Hey, I am who I am. I'm going to own it. I'm going to speak to it and, be a leader for
Well,
others who might not have leadership in this
you
area.
know, whether people like it or not, being openly gay is a lot like being a person of color, or in this society in America, being a woman, where you're everywhere you turn, somebody's trying to control your life and put you down.
Mm.
It's a little bit the same way in the gay world. And what I think, and I hope I'm okay saying this, my message to people that want to put me down is gay people are not in the closet. We're not going back. We have lawyers, guns, and money, as the song says. So deal with us. We're here. We're not going anywhere. And we're nice people. And if it
Nice
bothers you,
people.
it's like the Marva Wright song where she says, why don't people just mind their own business?
Hmm. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. So I'm curious about. I want to just go back to you were raised in Alabama. You decided to come out. How old were you when that happened? When you came out, and what was that
Oh, to
like? How did it
quote
shape you?
To quote Leslie Jordan, oh Lord, I knew I knew I was different when I was young. It wasn't that I was a sissy or anything, but I knew I was different than my brothers and my friends. I grew up as in a very strict Southern Baptist family. Lots and lots of things were wrong and bad. And when I look back on it, most things, if it was fun, it was probably wrong or bad, and you might get hit for it. So I was smart enough innately. Our souls and our brains are a little bit like software. As I started getting data that I was different, my brain didn't know how to process it. But fortunately, the CPU deep inside my head said, "Be quiet about it." And it wasn't until I went to college and started meeting different people from different parts of the world and different races that I knew that being different wasn't bad. My mom died when I was young. She died at 44 of a terrible metastatic form of breast cancer. But even though she was a very conservative Christian woman, on her deathbed, she told me, it's going to be tough. You're different, you're special, but you're okay. And
Oh.
I'll never forget that, as many years ago as it was.
Mm.
So God and I have settled up. I'm just fine with it. Unfortunately, my family is not. It breaks my heart. One of my brothers may be watching today. I don't know that we're ever going to be able to reconcile it, but I went to the University of Alabama, got a degree, started law school, realized that wasn't going to happen. I was
Mm.
having to work my way through, and while the other guys and girls were going to study groups, I was going to my second job. So I knew I wasn't smart enough to get out of law school. So I did something crazy. I had a best friend from college, had moved to Los Angeles. So I did what a lot of people in their 20s did. I packed up and moved to LA, went to the beach, and
Wow.
discovered now a whole new world. And the rest is history. I'm still very spiritual. I'm what I call a little C Christian. I live the way that you're supposed to, a good life. I just don't have the big C, which I call organized religion, if that makes sense. But I love my upbringing. We grew up in a beautiful place in North Alabama, a town called Decatur. It was green. We got to play outside all the time. We weren't
Oh.
afraid to go to school. Our parents weren't afraid for us to be at school. It was wonderful. And, I've got a bunch of little great nieces and nephews. And boy, one of them at the beginning of this school year, her mom told me she's afraid to go to school. And that just killed me.
Mm.
But that's part of the reason I've decided to get involved in government. I realize I'm not Pete Buttigieg. I can't go to DC and change it. They don't care what I have to say over in our state capital, Raleigh, but I can damn sure make things happen in this little town and set a good example. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Oh. Wow. Well, I note your I note your positive attitude, and despite some times that you've gone through your own trials, you still you say you're the happiest man on the planet, and you're living a great life. And I'm curious where that came from. And yeah, it obviously is an asset. Where did that come from?
I tell people I am my mother's son. She
Mm.
was raised dirt poor in the valley, down in the oil valley of Texas. Remembers before the days of toothpaste, having to scrub her teeth with a piece of charcoal. And she made it. She got a college degree. She became a nurse. She
Wow.
married and had children and became a community leader. And my father was involved in civic activities as well. But I watched my mother suffer when she was sick and passed away. I've had cancer, 3 bouts of it, and
Wow.
there was a year, 2016, the worst year of my life, where I barely made it that year. But when tough times came, I thought of my mom. I can tough this out and I'm going to make it. I'm not going to die. I won't let that happen. So I just had to dig deep within, and I credit my mother's spirit of teaching us to be self-reliant, good kids, stick up for other people, take care of yourself. Look in the mirror when you have to make a decision. You know the right thing to do. Go look in the mirror and ask yourself what's the right thing to do. So I credit her with a lot of the way I am. I've dodged a lot of bullets, and the path for me to retire and be happy and healthy, it was obviously the right one, because at every step of the path, a door opened. So I followed karma, and here I am. And I hope I'm setting a good example for people. I don't know about inspiring people, but maybe at least a good example with a rainbow flag. Who knows?
Well, I'll never forget the brushing your teeth with charcoal, and
Can
then
you
moving up to
imagine?
being a nurse and taking care of a family and setting that example. That's your mom is inspiring, and she obviously left a sparkle on you too. So,
She would be, I know in my heart and my head, she would be very proud of me. And I've tried to impress that on my brothers that no matter what you think, God and I are a-okay, and
wow.
mom would approve. That's all I can, that's all I can say on that
Mm.
matter.
Well, I can relate a little bit. My mom also died of breast cancer at a young age,
Oh,
and
wow.
also really, I remember when she said to me in her final times, "You're my inspiration." And I thought, "What?
Wow.
Are you kidding me?" But you hold on to messages like that, and they
Yes, you
they
do.
forever change you, and they're a small little treasure. So never second guess what our words can do for someone else. Those
You are exactly right. And that's why I try to be careful. My friends make fun of me. There's not a little kid I hadn't waved to and said hi to, and there's not a puppy I hadn't petted. But that's if that's my gift, that I've got a little bit of chutzpah and am not afraid to say hey to little kids. Little kids are suspicious. They're smart. You have a young daughter. You know how they can be. But for some reason, when I look across the room and catch a little kid's eye and give them the thumbs up, normally I get a smile and a wave back. So there's something about it. I can't explain it. I'm not going to try to figure it out. I just go with it.
I love how you got chutzpah and karma and the little C Christian going here. Um, so, okay, I'm with AARP and we are partners with Blue Ridge Pride. And Blue Ridge Pride is the one of the main hosts of this event because we care about the stories of people. And I really value the journey of age. And so, one thing I'm curious about is, what are your thoughts about aging as an openly gay person? What are some of the resources that are or aren't there, the concerns that may come up when you're out in a community? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I do. Where you live makes a difference. People ask me all the time, where's the gay hood in Asheville? Where are the places to go? Well, there's a gay bar in Asheville. I've never been to it. I don't need to. We're so assimilated. Gay men and lesbians and transgender people have been so welcomed and so woven into the community that it's a little bit different. As one gets older, you realize you're not beautiful anymore. You're not pretty. You can become invisible in a way. And in the gay community, at least with men, um, gay men become invisible to the mainstream, and we can be the brunt of jokes sometimes. I think you have to stick to your friends. You got to make hard choices. COVID came along and made some friendships very difficult, not only for me, but for everybody watching or listening to this. You've got to go with your heart. I'm part of a book club, a gay men's book club that was organized through AARP. I didn't have any idea until I met the organizer. I've become very good friends with people far better read and smarter than me, but you have to look for resources. People ask me if you're openly gay, how do I make friends? How do I find gay people? I tell them one of the easiest ways is get involved in government. Go join a party, Republican, Democrat. Go to an event, volunteer to go door to door, volunteer to hand out cards at the ballot, go work at the polling places, find a book club. You'll quickly realize that there are people just like you who are looking for friends too. Don't try to make a million friends. I don't. I've got a core group of friends that are just so wonderful and dear to me. I know I can count on them and they can count on me, but it is difficult. During COVID, being single, I'm not alone by any stretch of the imagination, but being single and older was very, very difficult during the heart of COVID. Fortunately, I live in a wonderful neighborhood where we literally divvied up the streets and became COVID buddies. And we agreed during the worst of it, as we're watching, Governor Como do the death toll on TV. Before you go to bed, we texted each other, and it was a great sense of community, and I really appreciated that. And I hate to say it this way, but gay people, older people, have to stick together because it does get more difficult with time.
Oh,
But
that's
and if I would say if you live in a place where it's very red and it's an issue every day, all day, you might want to consider moving, quite
Mhm.
frankly, to some place that is friendly. There's power in numbers, there's strength in numbers.
And I just want to, I need to reiterate that we're nonpartisan, our entities and organizations, and that I think the point though being to stay connected to the people that support you and in communities where you feel supported.
It's
Um,
it's also, and I did a post on this. I stole it from somebody. It's a rainbow flag that, it's hurtful to gay people when we see our friends and our family supporting, working for, and donating to campaigns or groups that want to hurt us. There are people out there that want to hurt me physically. And when I see people that I thought were my friends working for them and supporting them, that's hurtful. So I would encourage people to think about that. Your actions, your words have consequences. I hope I didn't politicize this. I'm in government. We're nonpartisan. We don't claim to be Republicans or Democrats on the town council. Uh,
mhm.
Take politics out of it. We're here to work for the people. And I also like that I didn't have to run as a Democrat or a Republican or an independent.
Yeah.
I just ran as a man, a citizen, a resident.
I love that too. And just like you mentioned, your party line does not necessarily determine your value judgment. But most
Exactly.
importantly, do your homework, right? Check out that as we get close to the time of elections, we just check out what people believe in, and if it aligns with values and beliefs and sustainability of your community that you'd like to see, other issues and concerns that are on your mind. I think that's a great message.
And we're a minority. I mean, my women friends are very concerned about what just happened with Roe v. Wade, and they're politically active. As a gay man, and I see that the Supreme Court may reverse the gay marriage privilege, it makes me angry. It gets me involved, and women need to be involved. Gay people need to be involved and stand up for ourselves. Nobody's going to do it for us.
Yeah, whatever your issues of concern are, it's important to get involved. I mean, that's where we have our power, right? We have our
Yes.
power to be engaged and to use elevate our voices. And when you were speaking about community, I did put up on the screen the Blue Ridge Pride, Generations Plus, the project of Blue Ridge Pride has a wealth of resources, places you can go to stay connected, programs. I know we're working on a holiday sock hop event, which isn't exactly what one thinks. I think it's going to be a really nice event about taking care of each other in our community. So if anybody here from our team is watching, go ahead and put information about that in the comment section. But yeah, stay connected. And I love this story about COVID and texting one another and actually a strengthening of community through that process. It was really cool. We have had some comments, and so maybe I'll check them out right now. And you can say, hey, because this is really about you, not what you're going to do for Woodfin tomorrow, but people had some questions, and I'll give you the yes or no if you want to respond to those.
Okay.
We had some nice, like, hey, thanks for what you do. And then, also love your mom and the values she instilled in you from Paul.
Thank
And
you.
thank you for being a great role model from the Blue Ridge Pride Center. So, some really sweet comments here. And a question that's on everybody's mind is affordable housing is like just across the plant across the United States is a huge issue. So do you have any comments that you'd like to make about that, Jim?
Well, if you're in Woodfin, rest assured that the new elected town council, we're working very, very hard on that. We've got some things that I could talk about, some things I can't talk about. One of the first things we're going to do, we've learned that as many as 11 or 12% of residences in the town of Woodfin are short-term rentals. Now, a lot of them are owned by residents, and that's fine, but a lot of them are owned by big investors, and they're living in the neighborhoods that, quite frankly, our residents won't reserve for residents. So one of the ways we're tackling affordable housing is we're getting ready to pass some new ordinances and enforce the existing ordinances on short-term rentals. That's a good way for any town or city or community to start solving that problem. It's part of the problem. I'm not against short-term rentals, trust me. I use Airbnb when I travel around the world, as well as stay in hotels, but it has gotten out of hand. The pendulum has swung too far, and we've got to get our arms around it. Since we have all this green space, we are actively talking to groups about affordable housing, at least in Woodfin. We now have the power of the pulpit and the purse, and we're going to get some more affordable housing in Woodfin other than mobile homes. We're working hard on it. I know Esther Mannheimer, the mayor of Asheville, is a friend of mine, and she gets beat up a lot about it, but I know for a fact she's working super hard in the background trying to find ways to get affordable housing. But let's face it, it's not just Woodfin, it's not just Asheville, it's everywhere. It's out of control. It's a recognized issue, and we've got to do something about it. So getting involved in your local government's a good way to do it. We got a bond issue on the ballot next week that I'm not going to speak to or for, but
Do your
fully agree.
homework, right, on
Do
that
your
one.
homework on it, and don't go to the polls this week if you live in Buncombe County, North Carolina, and not vote on those bonds. Read the paragraph, Better with Bonds. Go to that website and there's another one that's against the bonds. Read them, make up your own mind, but don't vote for everything and leave that blank. Get educated. Only by working together can we do anything about this. And it's by people electing guys like me to Woodfin's council that we're tackling those issues that'll make an impact on the price of housing and the amount of affordable housing. It's not going to be easy, not going to happen overnight, but rest assured that people like us are working as hard as we can, and we're open to any ideas you got.
Cool. And if people wanted to, connect with you or learn more about what's happening in terms of policy decisions, where would they do that, Jim?
Go to www.woodfin-nc.gov. You can find me there. My email address is jmcallister, like is on the screen, at woodfin-nc.gov. Write me, contact information's there. Come to a meeting the third Tuesday of the month. The first thing we do is we sit and listen to residents. But if you have ideas, complaints, concerns, do that. You can do the same thing in Asheville. You can do the same thing in Charlotte. You can do the
Get
same thing
involved.
in the county commission where you live, anywhere in America. It's just shocking how many meetings we have where nobody comes to yell at us or give us an idea. Shouldn't be happening that way, and get involved. But short-term housing is a tragedy. Had I not moved here and built my house when I did, there is no way I could afford to live here. I was lucky. It was about timing. Back to I'm the luckiest man you know.
Yeah, it's a deep issue with many causes, and I'm so happy to hear that it's on your mind. I'm not surprised. Let's see,
Let
there
me
was
say one other thing, if you
yeah.
don't mind. In the town of Woodfin, we have a lot of senior citizens, in Asheville too. If there's a senior citizen that happens to be listening to this and you own your home and you don't have an estate, or your family doesn't need that house, call your local government. You can actually donate it, and that can become a very affordable house working through your local government. We have some residents in Woodfin that have approached me saying, can I help somebody? And I've told them, yes, you can. And we're having those conversations. So there's 101 ways to deal with that situation.
Hmm, great input. So we're rolling into the last 2 minutes here. Gosh, I'm just like my eyes are scrolling over to the comments because there's some really interesting ones coming in,
Wow.
which are really great. But we do have a question here. If time allows, would also be interested in hearing more about the status of the proposed trails and greenways network? Do you think you can answer that in a minute?
Quickly, the greenways in Woodfin that are going to come all the way from City of Asheville and connect up to the Craggy Mountain Railroad and along the river where we built these two new parks. It's fully funded. They're underway. The Woodfin Greenway portion and the Wave, the river water feature, will open in the summer of 2024. It won't be long when you'll be able to ride your bike from Woodfin to River Arts. There's going to be one little section that's problematic, but that's because they're trying to move I-26, as everybody knows. And as soon as the federal government will make up their mind where it's going to be, then we can finish the greenways. So they're fully funded. They're coming. It's no more a dream. They're happening. And you're going to see that construction along the river in Woodfin.
Well, I know our family sure does enjoy that new Skyline Park, and I know everything has a cost benefit analysis, right? There's a lot that goes into these decisions, but the Greenway Trail Network is certainly an asset to Woodfin. So thank you for your
Absolutely.
championing of that. Okay, and I will put up. We got a few like, "Hey, great program, thanks," and we got a comment here from Mo Davis about a proud University of Alabama grad. Would you consider a relationship with an Auburn grad? Or would that
Oh,
fall into the irreconcilable differences category? Well, that made
I'll
Jim
get
laugh.
I'll get you back for that, Colonel Davis.
Oh,
That would be difficult. Yes, I would consider it, but that'd be a tough one. We'd have to on the day of the Alabama Auburn game, we'd have to have a peace treaty signed.
well, there's a will, there's a will, there's a way. And then just that the sock swap holiday gathering, it's not really a sock hop, but it is a sock swap. Great play on words team,
Good.
coming up on the 14th. So there's some information about that in the chat.
Where will it
But
be,
it's going
Rebecca?
to be, yeah, see, everybody wants to go. This is going to be fun. It's at Mountain Care on Sweeten Creek Road. It's one of our community partners. They've got a cool space, so it's going to be fun. You can visit the website to register, and you can really go to blueridgepride.org, but there's a link in the comment section where you can just click on that.
Blue Ridge Pride always has something going on. There's things
I
to do,
know.
ways to help, ways to meet people. Great organization.
And just made up of a great team of people, which I give a big shout out to those taking a lead in Blue Ridge Pride
Exactly.
and Generations Plus. Thanks, team. Thanks, Jim. You did it. You showed up. Shared your message. You inspired others, and thank you, everyone, for joining us for another Rainbow
Thank you for having
Inspirations.
me. Loved it.
It was a fun part of my day. Very wonderful part of my day. Thanks, Jim. We'll see you all in December, just the first Tuesday for the next Rainbow Inspirations. Thank you.